بصدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك. آمين يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. MashaAllah, how's everyone doing today? Alhamdulillah. Thumma alhamdulillah. We start with the praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's all praise due to Him. We ask of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send abundant salutations on our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to have woken up this morning, the gift of life. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having a roof over our heads. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the warm blankets that we've woken up with. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the limbs that are perfectly intact, being able to see, being able to hear, being able to speak, and our heart that is beating without our permission, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starting our day saying Alhamdulillahi alladhi ahyana ba'dama amatana wa ilayhi nushur. Just a very short reminder before we get into the verses. We are in the 10 days of the Hijjah, and the first 10 days being the most beloved days to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's lots of talk about it, there's videos going out about it, and I think the reminder is very, very important to us that every act in these 10 days are of the most beloved acts that one can do. And so it's very important that we try to, just up our own level, inshallah, in these 10 days. Something amazing about the fact that the month of Ramadan has passed, and now these 10 days being the most beloved days to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that in the month of Ramadan, the acts of ibadah that were done, fasting and so on and so forth, was something that was compulsory. So fasting in the month of Ramadan is compulsory, whether you're for it, whether you're against it, whether you're someone that generally fasts, or whether you're someone that doesn't like fasting or struggles to do sunnah fast. In the month of Ramadan you're going to do it because it's compulsory. And you will see everyone's doing extra acts of ibadah. The masajid are full for Taraweeh, for example. Everyone's working towards reciting the khatam. Everyone's doing extra ibadah. The charity level has gone up throughout the month. The zakah has been given, and so on and so forth. And that is the month where shaitan is locked up. So now that has passed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it easy for us. Shaitan is locked up, everyone's doing good, and so on and so forth. Whereas these 10 days, shaitan is still loose. These 10 days to fast is not something that's compulsory. And so it becomes even more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you do. Because it's not compulsory for you to do. Allah wants to see, are you going to do? And shaitan is not locked up anymore, meaning he can still dissuade you from doing good. So when you do it, everything is, the reward of it is multiplied, to the extent that Rasulullah says that there's no action that is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than an act or action in these 10 days. Sahaba said, not even jihad fi sabilillah, not even going out into the battlefield. And this was like one of the greatest acts one could do, especially at the time where Islam was being wiped out. Rasulullah says, not even jihad in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he made one exception. The only exception is that the person goes with his life and with his self, with his wealth, with everything, and he doesn't come back. That's the only thing that can topple a act of ibadah in these 10 days. Subhanallah. So it basically separates as they say, the men from the boys. Ramadan was easy because it was compulsory, shaitan is locked up, and it was easy. But now it is to show as to whether we're going to make some extra effort. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the reality of the importance of these 10 days. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَن يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. If you show greatness and sanctity to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows greatness to, it's a sign of taqwa in the heart. And throughout the Quran, Allah speaks about the success of those who are God conscious, or are conscious of Allah, or of the muttaqun. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And then at the end of those verses, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. They are successful. إِنَّ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ مَفَازًا. The muttaqin, they are successful. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ, have consciousness of Allah. وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ, and Allah will open up the doors of knowledge for you. So I can go through a whole list of what's going to happen when we do put in the necessary effort. And so may it be such that we maximize our time in these 10 days, inshallah. And so our coming out to class, we normally coming out to class is of high merit, but now it is squared, or, or cubed, or whatever number you want to add to it. But it's something that's beautiful, the act of coming out, seeking knowledge for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and very rewarding by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khair. So we're starting off with verse number 34, 35. And again, when we start, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recommends, that when you read the whole Quran, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ, seek protection billahi, by Allah, min ash-shaytan ar-rajim, seek protection by Allah from shaitan the curse. So we start, a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim, indeed I seek protection by Allah from shaitan the cursed. May He protect us from getting a wrong understanding of the meaning. May He also protect us from when we feel inspired to do. May He protect us from shaitan dissuading us from doing that good and trying to delay us and say, okay, no, do it at a later stage, do it tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And then starting with the basmala, in the name of Allah, Bismillah, Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, Ar-Rahim, the especially merciful. We implore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower us with His mercies as we read His book, as we read His word. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Again, last week we started something beautiful, and I think maybe we can do it every week, where we just start off the class disconnecting from everything and reconnecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want us all just to take a moment, just breathe in deeply and out. Again, breathe in deeply with the positives going in. Negatives going out. Again, deeply in, positive. Negatives out. Now, this is your moment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and just ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you for your shortcomings. Anything that you might have done in the last week that was displeasing to Him, might have slipped up, might have done a sin knowingly or unknowingly. And through this istighfar, we're going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one, to forgive us. Number two, if there's any barrier between us and learning, a spiritual barrier between us and benefiting from the Quran, that through our istighfar, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes that barrier, so that we can receive His guidance, we can receive His nur. Astaghfirullah 3 times silently. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our istighfar, and may we take maximum benefit. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Khair. So the verse we start with is وَفُرُشٍ مَرْفُوعَةٍ. This verse is directly connected to the Ashabul Yameen. Ashabul Yameen are the companions on the right hand side. The companions on the right hand side, as we mentioned previously, the word ashab from sahib, from sahaba, that name is given to the person because of the close connection to either a person or to that particular thing. So Ashabul Yameen, they were closely connected to the acts of goodness, closely connected to the acts that led them to be called Ashabul Yameen on the day of Qiyamah. You are on the right hand side, you have passed, you are successful, you had suhbah, close connection to that particular act. And then we go through a list of things which they will be getting in the year after. And then we went through a few verses, في سدر مخدود وطلح ممدود وظل ممدود وماء مسكوب وفاكهة كثيرة لا مقطوعة ولا ممنوعة. And then we get to this verse, وفرش مرفوعة. Question? Do you have a question? Does it? Oh. وفرش مرفوعة. Furushin is couches. So there will be couches مرفوعة that will be raised. Previously we spoke about thrones, so there will be thrones. At times you're going to be sitting on your thrones, other times you're going to be relaxing on couches. There's going to be different forms of relaxation in Jannah, and you can basically have whatever you want. Previously we spoke about how there's going to be your personal the youngsters just running around to do whatever you want to do. In other verses, it speaks about how the branches of Jannah will come to you with whatever you want. So you think of something, then it's there. Either you can have that service, or you can have the service, or you just tell whoever, there's someone moving around and you tell him you want this, and then it comes to you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about this is the delights of what you're going to have in Jannah. The next verse, and previously verse number 22 spoke about the Hurun Ain, the ladies of Jannah. And here again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a reference to the ladies of Jannah. Inna, indeed, inna, and then the noon connected to it. Inna, indeed we, ansha'nahunna, ansha'nahunna. This verb is quite compact. It comes from nasha'a. Nasha'a is to spread out. Ansha'na, ansha'a is to create. Ansha'na, there's a noon connected to it, that's the doer. Ansha'nahunna, then there's hunna connected to that as well. It's very compact. Who knows what bab this is on? On the fourth bab, good. On the fourth bab. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, inna, indeed we, ansha'na. So ansha'a, then you go all the way down. Ansha'a, ansha'a, ansha'u, ansha'at, ansha'ata, all the way down until you get ansha'na. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed we. When Allah uses a royal pronoun, it's royalty, it's showing greatness. Also last week we mentioned when there's an increase of the build of the word, it means there's an increase on the intensity of its meaning. So nasha just means to have done something, to spread out. Then this is on the fourth bab. So kathratul mabani, the more is the build of the word, tadullu, it indicates and it means kathratul ma'ani. There's more of a meaning here. The meaning is intensified. Sometimes we can't do justice to a meaning. The word Rabb, for example, we translate as generally Lord. Look at the dictionary, it's going to give you the Lord, the nourisher, the sustainer. It's going to give you like 10 different meanings for one word. And that's the richness of the Arabic language. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed we have created hunna, them. The doer is there, the na, and then hunna. Hunna is them speaking about the ladies of Jannah, and that is the maf'ul, the done upon. We have created them in sha'a, and to truly express this, you can't do justice to express it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I've created them in a very special way. They are like very, very special. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expresses it. The word insha'a is a rule that we've done previously. Let's see if you remember the rule. So insha'a is what hal? Halatul nasb. Why? Maf'ul mutlaq. Good. The word ansha'a and the word insha from the same root letters. Maf'ul mutlaq. Do you remember that? No? Yes? No? Sorry? Recap. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to put the slides on, I'll just explain it. So, often Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the verses right in the beginning, Surah verse number 4, verse number 5, وَإِذَا رُجَّتْ رَجَّ يَرُجُّ رُجَّتْ وَإِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضُ رَجًّا وَإِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضُ رَجًّا. The verb is rujja, rajja, and then rujja, majhul, rajjan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the same word that he's using for the verb. So that's called maf'ul mutlaq, it's done for emphasis. Next verse again, وَبُسَّتِ الْجِبَالُ. The verb is bassa, yabussu, and then this is majhul, bussa, bussatil jibalu, bassan. The same word is used as the verb. You see that over there? So it's done for emphasis. Then we went into 3 types. You're going to get one for emphasis, then you're going to get one to show the type, and you're going to get one that explains how it must be done. Okay? I had it on the screen. If you remember, alhamdulillah. If you don't, we'll recap it some other time again. But so here's an example of it again. And when Allah uses this type of explanation, it's beyond what we just understand. Even the translation again can't do justice to it. How do you say Allah's created them? Creation. But it means that Allah's emphasizing how He's created them very uniquely, especially for the men. And then some of the verses here, I get shy to read, but it's Quran, so We have to read it. فَجَعَلْنَاهُنَّ. And here's again, فَجَعَلْنَا, جَعَلَ. We go all the way down. جَعَلَ. Go with me. جَعَلَ, جَعَلُوا, جَعَلَتْ. Oh yes, you skipped the dual, no? You skipped the dual. Okay. Then you must say it. I struggle when I have to skip the dual. So say it quickly. جَعَلَ. جعلنا. So fa, the fa is added, so جعلنا. Ja'ala, you're looking for your doer, it's on the verb, there's a sign. I was told last week that it's not Eli anymore, it's Eli. Okay? Was it your class that told me it's Eli now? No. The first years. So what do you know it as? Eli. Yeah, salam. Okay. Every class I must say adapt as to how I say the words, you know. Eli, I think it's maybe more Islamic. So we say instead of Eli, we say Eli. But the E, L and I, you look to the, on the end of the verb, ja'alna. And then you look to the left and you look inside. So we find it there. Ja'alna, we find it there. And then the hunna that's added to it, that is the maf'ul, the done upon. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here about this very special creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ladies of Jannah. Indeed, we have created them abakara, from the word bikr. Abakara means they are virgins. The hadith says that whenever they are, when you consummate with them, and then after you're done, they become bikrs, they become virgins again, every single time. And that is the explanation that is given on the verses again about this ladies of Jannah. That's why I say sometimes I don't know. Maybe we must have especially guys class where I translate these verses, and maybe the ladies can get a walimat that can translate the verses for the ladies. Allah knows best. I'm just doing my level best to translate over here. Uruban. The word urub also a very powerful word. It speaks about, it comes from uruba or aruba. Aruba is when your wife, your spouse, and this is giving reference to the ladies of Jannah again, they are completely in love with you. But the word urub, it's giving a very intense explanation of how they are. So they're beautiful, they're elegant, everything about them, but they got this intense, passionate love for their husbands. In another verse, I think it comes later, it speaks about how they only have eyes for their husband. They're like, oh, they don't want to know anyone else, they don't want to see anyone else, they just, so uruban is intense love for the husband, and then atraba, of similar age. So there's a incident where Rasulullah was jesting with one of the elderly ladies, and then he told this lady that I think she asked if she'll be entered into Jannah if she does certain things, and whatever the case may be, and then he said, no, old ladies don't go to Jannah. And then she started crying, this lady started crying, and then Rasulullah consoled her, and he says, no, when you enter into Jannah, you'll be made young again. And then she was like very happy. She's like, okay, alhamdulillah. Continued making dua for that. So atraba over here speaks about how you will be of equal age, and they say the peak of one's life is like 33 or something like that. So you'll be at your youth again, of a good age. But again, in Jannah you can have whatever you want. So uruban atraba, loving and of similar age. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for who are all these things that we're discussing? Li ashabil yamin, li, for ashab, the companions. Again, the word ashab is being used. Suhbah, you had a close connection to al-yamin, to the right hand side, to those things that are going to ensure that you are there on the day of Qiyamah. Something beautiful about this is that in this 10 days now, we have an opportunity to maximize on becoming either of the Ashab al-Yamin, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about previously, the Sabiqun. We can actually utilize this time to become of them, to ensure it's 10 days of just practicing. Number one, starting with the basics. Uh, and I think this is important for us to remember. Sometimes you inspired to do good, and then you go all out and okay, I'm gonna give charity now, and you're a multi-millionaire, mashallah, and now you just start giving a whole lot of charity. But in hindsight, or doing some reflection, the foundation is not yet correct. Meaning that those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made compulsory upon you is not yet there. So you can't be doing a whole lot of extras when the foundation hasn't been laid. Meaning, even especially in these 10 days, look at the foundation. What is it that I need to repair? Is my salah being made? Is it being made on time? I'm not making all my salahs when I come home from work. I know that's a struggle that some of the working class has. It is a struggle, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I've made it specific times, and then looking at things that are maybe impermissible that we need to stay away from. And the beauty about this particular way of living, there's actually a few books written about this now. The 5 love languages, I think I spoke about it last week. The 5 love languages is a non-Muslim author. So he discusses how it is that you can love either your partner, these 5 love languages of children, how you can love your children, 5 love languages of teens, and it's all basically the same principle. Basically, in this, when you read it, you find that your spouse or your child or whatever has a particular love language. It's either they love an affectionate touch, so they like to be hugged, or they like their hands to be held, or they like words of affirmation. So, well done, or I love you, or something like that. Some others will like quality time. And why I'm mentioning this is, the amazing thing is this comes directly from Quran and Sunnah. Directly from Quran and Sunnah. It's a person who studied extensively, and there's more than 10 million of these books already sold. It's a non-Muslim author, but it comes directly from the Islamic concept. What's the Islamic concept? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you love Allah, then He says, this is how you need to love me. And when you love me, there's an immediate reciprocation of that love from Him. Allah says, when you do this, then I begin to love you and I forgive you your sins. In the Hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when I begin to love you because of your action, then I become the ears that you hear with, and the hands that you grasp with, and the eyes that you see with, and the feet that you walk with. Now, in this book, I recommend you get the book and you just try it. You'll see immediate reciprocation, of love when you do that. It's something beautiful, and again, it's an Islamic concept. So over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that when you do what He requests you to do, then this is some of the results of you doing what you need to do. That you're going to get X, Y, and Z. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again grant us to put into practice. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ثُلَّةٌ مِنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ. There's going to be a large group, a multitude, مِنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ, from the previous generation, وَثُلَّةٌ, and there's going to be a large group, مِنَ الْآخِرِينَ, of the latter generation. And again, we spoke about this earlier. We said that Umar was concerned regarding the first verses that said there's going to be a lot from the earlier generation and only a few from the latter generation, and he was concerned. And then these verses were revealed a bit later, saying that there's going to be from both sides, many on the one side, many on the other side. And again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all of them. It's something to aspire towards, something to look forward to. Then the next verses speak about the Ashab al-Shimal. And these verses are very intense, subhanAllah. Ashab, the companions of the left hand side. So this is the end result. This is where they are now. They are companions of the left hand side. They didn't make it. They are unsuccessful. They are going to Jahannam. Ma Ashab al-Shimal. What about the Ashab Shimal, or who are the Ashab Shimal? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a description of what's going to be happening to them when they are entering Jahannam. Fi samumin. Fi, they will be in a place. I'm adding the word place. Samum means a very hot or fiery wind. So the heat is very intensified. There's an extreme heat, and not only is the wind hot, but beyond that, وَحَمِيمٍ. Hamim is boiling water. So different verses explain these verses, or hadith explains these verses. So people's going to request for something to drink because they are hot, they are burning, they are suffering, and they would want something to cool them down. And when they are requesting a drink, then they are given this hamim, which is a scalding, boiling water to drink. And when they drink it, it melts the intestine. It's so extremely hot that it melts the intestines. And when the intestines are melted, and then it's recreated again, so that they can go through the same punishment again. Can you imagine that? That you're drinking boiling water. I mean, if you ever burnt your tongue with hot coffee, you know, it's not a nice experience. This is boiling hot water that they drink, that goes down, and then it melts the insides, the intestines. It melts completely, and then only to be recreated, for them to go through the same process again. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So this is Ashab Shimal. They were closely connected to the acts of disobedience. Their life was about disobedience. Suhbah, they were companions of disobedience. That was their life. And unfortunately, this is the end result of the doings in this dunya. وَذِلٍّ, and there will be a shade min yahmum. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a contrast. The people of Jannah, dhillim mamdood, they're going to be in shade that is extended. They're going to be in such shade that Rasulullah says a rider will ride, a fast rider. The one hadith speaks about 100 years, another hadith speaks about 500 years. A fast rider will ride so fast and so long, but it will take him about 100 years to get out of the shade of the person that's relaxing in the shade of Jannah. Like it's just like relaxation, shade, enjoyment. But in here, for the person of Jahannam, it is dhillim bi yahmum. It's a black darkness, a black shade, a shade that you can't actually see in front of you. You're not able to see what's happening around you. So it's fiery wind, it's this boiling water, it's this darkness upon darkness. La baridin. There's absolutely no barid. There's absolutely no coolness. Wala kareem, and there's no. Kareem is generosity. So there's no honor, there's no generosity, there's absolutely nothing there for them. Innahum, indeed they, kanu, they were, qabala, before dhalik, before this situation they find themselves in, mutrafin, in a state of luxury. But in the state of luxury that has been spoken about, it's such opulence that they had that they forgot about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they had luxury, and in this luxury they enjoyed themselves to the fullest, but with things that were impermissible to them. Something interesting about the word mutrafin. I'm going to go into some detail here now. Let's see who's able to get this. So the word mutrafin needs to be broken up to its core. And again, I want to give some extra details on this word. The word mutrafin comes from the verb tarafa or tarifa, tarafa. Okay? Then it is on a specific bab. Who knows what bab this is on? Who's able to get to that point where they're able to, So, sorry? Fa'ala. No, it's not fa'ala. Fa'ala is the first bab. Fourth bab. Okay, so what of the fourth bab is this? Fourth bab, go through it. Af'ala, yuf'ilu, if'alan, muf'ilun. This is ra. Ismu maf'ul of the fourth bab. So the fourth bab was right, mashallah. And this is the ismul maf'ul of the fourth bab. So ismul fa'il is mutrif, and then ismul maf'ul is mutraf. Got that? Sorry? Yes, mutrif is the ismul fa'il. Mutraf is the ismul maf'ul. Why I'm going into some detail here, I want to show you something specific. The word ismul maf'ul means that it was done upon them. it was done upon them. So when opulence is spoken about here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they were given and they were put in a state of opulence. The Ismul Maf'ul, they were done upon, they were given opulence. Allah gave them and Allah gave them and Allah gave them and Allah gave them. They were the ones that just had. They had whatever they needed, they had whatever they wanted, they had. They were put in a state of opulence, from the word mutraf. That's why it's the Ismul Maf'ul. And unfortunately, with all the things that they had, they couldn't recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With all the things that they had, they used it and they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so again, I'm using this concept often so that hopefully it sticks. So kathratul mabani, the more there is on the build of the word, tadullu indicates kathratul ma'ani, that the meaning is more intensified. So this is on the fourth bab. The word, if you look up tarifa or tarafa, it means to be in a state of opulence. On the fourth bab, this person really had it. The Ismul Maf'ul of the fourth bab, this person was put in a situation, he just got everything easily. He either inherited his father's estate, he had whatever he was just super rich. But he couldn't recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He couldn't realize that there's an Allah. He couldn't realize I need to use what I have in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And subhanallah, we see that happening in the world today. In the case of Jeddah, which is the doorway to Makkah, they're having discos and concerts of all sorts, and the Nicki Minaj's that's being brought over, and I don't know what else. I've got money, I can do. So sometimes, wealth, which we see to be sometimes a blessing, is also a test. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you, but how are you using your wealth? Are you using it in the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or using it in the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And every cent is going to count for us or against us. So we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us wealth. It's not that we don't want wealth, but in our hands and not in our hearts. In our hands, so if we need to spend it in Allah's cause, we're able to spend it. It's not in our hearts, and we become so subjected to this wealth that I can't do anything except wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, Alhaakumut takathur. Amassing this wealth has kept you busy, hatta zurtumul maqabir, and you look again, you're in the grave. Ma rabbuk, who's your Lord? Wealth, it does. Wealth won't help you on that day. There's a question?
Is that also the same as
Yes, we did that with the Sabiqoon. So the Sabiqoon is Ulaika Muqarraboon. Muqarraboon is also the Ismul Maf'ul. It's people that were drawn closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I gave some in-depth explanation there, and I want to use it specifically for this 10 days. Muqarraboon is Allah has brought them close because of their desire to be close. Sometimes you cannot achieve it, sometimes you cannot do it, but just through the intention that you have, Allah places you on that level. Allah places you on that level. I want to be Hafidh of Quran, and then you make a start, and you're only able to finish 1 juz, or 2 juz, or 5 juz, and you leave this world having only left 5 juz, and you're resurrected, and Allah resurrects you as a Hafidh of Quran. Allah, but I only finished 5 juz. Now, had I given you the extent of time to complete it, your intention was so sincere that you would have completed it. Use this time to make your intentions and make the necessary efforts. Wakanu, and they were, so the word mutrafin, you got that, eh? And then I want to add something else quickly to it. It's in halatu nasb. I'm giving you that it's halatu nasb. But why? So the sentence affects it. Okay, let me just tell you why, man. I'm giving you too much difficult stuff here. Kana has an ism and a khabar. Remember that. Kana, ism and khabar. We're talking a different language here. There is two kana. Yes? Ism kana and khabar kana. You did it? Who didn't do it? You didn't do ism kana. Okay. Quick explanation. So kana has a scale as well. Kana, kanu, all the way down. but it's not a complete verb. It's known as a fi'l naqis. It's a verb that is slightly deficient. It doesn't have the same qualities of a normal verb. The normal verb has a doer and it has a done upon. The kana has an ism. So you're going to have an ism of kana, the noun of kana, and you're going to have a khabar of kana. They're going to have ism and khabar. The word inna, did you do inna? No? Yes? Sorry? You know what it means? Inna means indeed. Indeed has an ism and a khabar as well. What I just said now, do you understand that? It's looking like I'm speaking something foreign here. Yes? Kana has a ism and a khabar. What's the time? How much time we have? Okay, what I'll do is next week I'll bring a slide on kana. No, it seems like some did it and some didn't do it. Some didn't know. Okay, so next week inshallah I'll have a slide up on the concept of kana and how it works. Just brief in summary, kana has a ism, meaning whatever is connected to kana. So here for example, kanu is the ism, and then it will have a khabar as well. That's enough information for now, because some did it and some didn't do it. I'll explain mutrafin or so next week. Wakanu, and they were yusirruna, they were persistent, they were continuous, ala, upon, al-hinth, a sin, al-azim, that was great. Here the word al is used. Al, what's the objective of al? What does al do? It makes it definite. So when it says al-hinth and al-azim, it is specific. It is a specific sin that they were consistent on. When you check the tafsir, it speaks about they were consistent on the kufr, the rejection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were persistent on their shirk, taking other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and making partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, often when we speak about this, it seems like something foreign. What time does this lesson end today? 5 to. Okay, we've got 5 minutes. Often when we speak about shirk and we speak about idol worship, it seems like a foreign concept. We don't worship idols. We don't. But if you bring it back into daily life, practical life, there's sometimes things that you give preference to over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You give preference to over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is a form of, it's very difficult to have to say this, but this is what it is. When you're constantly giving preference to something or someone else over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another place, have you seen the one, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ hawa? Have you seen the one who's taken his own base desires as his ilah? It's a form of shirk. Whatever my hawa says, whatever my desire says, I do. Every time, okay, what do? Okay, do. Okay, do. He's taken something else as his deity, his God. So we consistently giving preference to something, our desires or whatever it is, that is kind of a form of shirk. And so I'm mentioning this because sometimes we deem, the whole concept of shirk and idol worship as something that's far and foreign and in the time of Rasulullah, but it's very, very, very applicable to us today. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from it. Number one, if we see any of those aspects in our lives, may Allah grant us the ability to remove it. If you don't want to come on the day of Qiyamah, and then you're told, no, but your money was your Allah, or your job was your Allah, or whatever the case may be. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. So they were consistent on this grave sin. And then they said, and we'll end on this verse, وَكَانُوا, and they were يَقُولُونَ, they were saying, Hamzatul Istifham, the means putting the sentence into question, إِذَا, is it when, mitna, we have died, wa, and kunna. This word kunna, it comes from the word kana, all the way down, right to the end on our scale, when the noon is added, kunna, and we were turaban. What is turab? Dust. Wa idhaman, bones. Inna, is it that indeed we, this Hamza again putting in the question, is it inna that indeed we, la indeed. So they like really emphasizing inna la indeed mub'athun. Is it really that we're going to be resurrected? So the concept of resurrection is something that they don't believe in. It's something that is like, I'm not going to be resurrected on the day of Qiyamah. And when the concept does come up, they ask like, really? Are we going to be dust? And it's like, it's asked in a mocking way. We dust and we bones, and you're talking about resurrection. Other responses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says how they respond, hayhata lima tu'ad. They talk a lot of nonsense to me, but I don't believe in this concept. So this is the mindset that they had, and we'll find that the beginning of Surah Baqarah kind of emphasizes that the believer has the opposite. The believer, وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. In the year after, they are convinced. They have yaqeen. They are convinced, I'm going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu. I'm going to present myself, and so they act in such a way that the presentation is going to be done well. أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ. They are on the guidance of their Lord, because they have firm yaqeen, firm conviction in the وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, and they are the successful ones. So these verses are very intense. It's like you read it and you just don't know if you're coming or going. But it starts out beautifully with the Sabiqun and then Ashabul Yameen. And so if we're not at the Sabiqun, you can easily make it of the Ashabul Yameen. And if you made it of the Ashabul Shimal on the day of Qiyamah, it just means that your life was about living in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to use these 10 days to the best of our ability, inshallah. We probably won't see you next week. So Eid Mubarak to everybody, inshallah, whether you are Muni or Makatini. Salamat to all of you. Smile, smile. Is that so offensive? Okay, sorry,